And where is it right now? Because you're going to go, when is it going to be released?
It opens, it premieres Tuesday in New York.
And you're working on it last minute.
In Hollywood, a single word can change a performance from ordinary to extraordinary. Few people understand this better than Martin Scorsese, a filmmaker who has spent over 50 years creating perfect movies that define American cinema. From the rough streets shown in Taxi Driver to the wealthy excess of The Wolf of Wall Street, Scorsese has told stories that look deep into human nature, showing our darkest desires and desperate hopes. Many of the stories Scorsese put in his movies had real elements in them. Many people from those situations were still alive when he made the films. Behind his amazing direction lies a personality as explosive as the characters in his movies. While Scorsese has built legendary partnerships with actors like Robert De Niro and Leonardo DiCaprio, not every performer has been welcomed into his inner circle. Some actors have faced his famous anger, becoming targets of his demanding standards and stubborn vision. These actors, despite being successful elsewhere, found themselves fighting with a director who demands complete transformation from those who work with him. Their conflicts show not just professional disagreements, but basic clashes of artistic ideas. As Scorsese once said, cinema is a matter of what's in the frame and what's out. For these 6 performers, what stayed outside the frame was Scorsese's approval, something they would never receive, creating tensions that spread throughout Hollywood and sometimes changed their careers forever. James Caan's explosive encounter, James Caan's explosive talent, made him seem perfect for Scorsese's world of unstable masculinity. Yet their work together on an unrealized project in the mid-1970s became the stuff of Hollywood legend. Fresh from his success as Sonny Corleone in The Godfather, Caan brought a simmering intensity that initially fascinated Scorsese during early meetings for Italian American, a character study set in New York's Little Italy. There was something dangerous about Jimmy, Scorsese later remembered in a rare interview. He had the authenticity Scorsese wanted, but he also had ideas about the character that completely went against Scorsese's vision. The tension grew during a famous rehearsal where Caan reportedly rewrote dialogue on the spot, causing Scorsese to explode in what crew members described as a volcanic outburst. Caan wanted improvisation, but only his kind of improvisation. He told a reporter years later that there's creative freedom, and then there's whatever that was. The project collapsed within weeks, with Scorsese publicly saying there were creative differences, while privately telling associates that Caan was impossible to work with. Though both men went on to have great careers, they kept a cool distance for decades. Their brief creative collision represents a fascinating what-if in cinema history. Mark Wahlberg's Boston Intensity? The clash between Scorsese and Mark Wahlberg during the making of The Departed represents one of modern cinema's most interesting creative disconnects. Cast as the volatile Staff Sergeant Dignam, Wahlberg brought his signature Boston intensity to the role, but Scorsese reportedly found the actor's approach increasingly problematic. Mark had the athleticism and street credibility Scorsese wanted for Dignam, but he fought the director on the character's interior life. On set, tensions boiled over during the filming of Dignam's profanity-filled office scenes. Crew members said Scorsese repeatedly stopped takes, demanding a subtlety that Wahlberg struggled to deliver beneath the character's aggressive exterior. Scorsese kept saying, less, when everything about this guy screamed, more, an anonymous production assistant told a magazine. The irony of their conflict became clear when Wahlberg received the film's only acting Oscar nomination, a recognition that reportedly surprised Scorsese himself. Though they were professional in public appearances, their behind-scenes friction was so strong that later casting discussions for Shutter Island and The Wolf of Wall Street deliberately left Wahlberg out of consideration. Julia Roberts and period authenticity. Julia Roberts' brief intersection with Martin Scorsese's cinematic world during pre-production for The Age of Innocence revealed a fundamental incompatibility between America's sweetheart and America's most uncompromising director. Initially considered for the role of Countess Ellen Olenska that eventually went to Michelle Pfeiffer, Roberts found herself caught in Scorsese's detailed historical preparation process. She had a luminous quality that could have worked beautifully, Scorsese reluctantly admitted years later, but there was a contemporary sensibility he couldn't train out of her. The breaking point came during a costume fitting. when Roberts reportedly questioned the physical restrictions of period corsetry and Scorsese's insistence on authentic discomfort to inform performance. Roberts later alluded to the experience without naming Scorsese directly, saying he wanted her to literally not breathe properly to understand the character. She called it method directing. After a particularly tense meeting about the character's cultural background, Roberts withdrew from consideration. The incident became whispered about in industry circles as an example of Scorsese's uncompromising historical vision clashing with a star's more intuitive approach. Ryan O'Neal's catastrophic audition. Ryan O'Neal's reputation for remarkable on-screen charm made his catastrophic audition for Raging Bull all the more shocking to those few witnesses present in Scorsese's New York office in 1978. Before Robert De Niro was firmly attached to play Jake LaMotta, O'Neal, riding high from his success in Barry Lyndon and Paper Moon, was briefly considered for the boxing anti-hero. It was perhaps the most uncomfortable hour Scorsese had spent in casting, he confided to his longtime editor, Thelma Schoonmaker. O'Neal looked at the material like it was something alien. The meeting reportedly got worse when O'Neal suggested softening LaMotta's domestic violence scenes to make the character more sympathetic, a fundamental misreading of Scorsese's uncompromising vision. "If you're worried about likability, you're in the wrong room," Scorsese allegedly responded before abruptly ending the meeting. Though never explicitly confirming the incident, O'Neal made vague references to it in his memoir, writing that some directors want raw ugliness, while he always believed audiences need a way in, a reason to care. The encounter became symbolic of the gulf between Hollywood's conventional leading men and Scorsese's ruthless character studies. Winona Ryder's internal struggle, Winona Ryder's collision with Martin Scorsese's exacting directorial approach during 1993's The Age of Innocence, remains one of the most carefully concealed yet revealing clashes in the filmmaker's career. Cast as Mae Welland, the seemingly innocent society bride whose steely determination forms the story's emotional counterweight, Ryder found herself trapped between Scorsese's vision and her own instincts about the character. Winona had a luminescent quality that worked beautifully on camera, Scorsese acknowledged, but she fought him on Mae's internal calculation, the character's awareness of what she was doing to Newland and the Countess. The tension escalated during filming of the pivotal engagement scene at the van der Luyden's mansion, where Scorsese reportedly halted production for nearly 6 hours, demanding a specific quality of innocent manipulation from Ryder that she struggled to embody. Martin would whisper to her for 20 or 30 minutes between takes, production designer Dante Ferretti later recalled. She would emerge red-eyed only to hear again after the camera rolled. Behind the scenes, crew members observed increasingly strained interactions between director and actress, particularly during the film's third act, when Mae reveals her pregnancy. He wanted something so specific, this perfect synthesis of Victorian propriety masking ruthless emotional warfare, revealed script supervisor Martha Pinson in a rare interview. Winona wanted to humanize Mae, to find her vulnerability. Martin saw that as undermining the character's power. Though Ryder earned an Oscar nomination for her performance, their creative tension was so pronounced that she was noticeably absent from the film's commentary track and most promotional activities. And therefore, she was lost in a kind of contrary quip to King Tim for about 6 months. Jim Carrey's manic energy, Jim Carrey's near miss with Martin Scorsese's cinematic universe represents one of Hollywood's most fascinating creative incompatibilities. A collision between improvisational genius and meticulous auteur vision that never made it past pre-production. In 1999, writing the dual success of The Truman Show and Man on the Moon, Carrey was briefly attached to Scorsese's long-gestating Howard Hughes biopic that would eventually become The Aviator. The project, then conceived as a darker psychological study of Hughes's decline, initially intrigued Scorsese as a showcase for Carrey's untapped dramatic potential. Jim had this manic energy that could capture Hughes's brilliant eccentricity, Scorsese told a magazine at the time, but it needed to be channeled very specifically. The breaking point came during an intensive character workshop at Scorsese's New York office. According to production designer Dante Ferretti, who was present to discuss Hughes's evolving environments, Carrey arrived with extensive improvisational ideas about physically transforming across Hughes's lifetime. Martin became increasingly silent as Jim demonstrated these remarkable physical transformations, Ferretti later said. The room's temperature seemed to drop with each minute. The fundamental disconnect emerged when discussing script adherence. Scorsese's method demanded precise dialogue delivery, while Carrey sought freedom to discover moments organically. There are two kinds of brilliance in acting, Scorsese reportedly told producing partner Barbara DeFina afterward. Jim's is undeniable, but it's not compatible with my process. The project stalled shortly after, with Carrey moving on to Bruce Almighty while Scorsese reconceived the Hughes story with Leonardo DiCaprio. Years later, when asked about actors he regretted not working with, Scorsese offered a revealing observation. Some actors are such singular artists that they create within their own universe. His films require actors who can fully inhabit his. The essence of artistic vision, few relationships in cinema are as consequential as those between directors and actors. But in Scorsese's realm, these connections become fierce artistic battlegrounds. The six performers who clashed with America's most revered filmmakers share a distinction: extraordinary talent that somehow failed to align with his uncompromising vision. Their conflicts illuminate the essence of Scorsese's philosophy, where technical precision must marry emotional abandonment. In an industry increasingly driven by algorithms, these creative tensions remind us what authentic artistic vision demands: not compromise, but conviction bordering on obsession. So, you said conviction bordering on obsession. These stories show that even the most talented actors can struggle when their creative methods fundamentally differ from a director's vision. Each of these conflicts reveals something different about the nature of filmmaking and the delicate balance between director and performer. Whether it was Caan's improvisational instincts, Wahlberg's street intensity, Robert's contemporary sensibility, O'Neill's concern for likability, Ryder's humanizing approach, or Carrey's manic energy, each actor brought something valuable that simply couldn't mesh with Scorsese's specific artistic needs. These stories remind us that great art often requires difficult choices, and that sometimes the most interesting stories are about the films that never got made or the collaborations that never quite worked out,